Before Daredevil Born Again Season 2, we need to revisit the entire story of Matt Murdock and Wilson Fisk. From the early days of Hell's Kitchen, to the rise of the Kingpin, to Daredevil's return in the MCU. This is the complete Daredevil story so far, including the Defenders, the Punisher, and the growing battle for control of New York City. Let's begin. Once upon a time. Nah, just kidding. Let's recap Daredevil Season 1. Matt Murdock grew up in Hell's Kitchen, raised by his father Jack Murdock, a boxer who hoped his son would become something better than a fighter. As a child, Matt was blinded by chemicals in an accident. While he lost his sight, the accident heightened his remaining senses to superhuman levels. With training from the mysterious martial artist Stick, Matt learned how to turn those abilities into a weapon. As an adult, Matt becomes a lawyer and opens a small law firm with his best friend Foggy Nelson called Nelson and Murdock. They soon meet Karen Page, who becomes their first client after she is framed for murder. But at night, Matt becomes a masked vigilante protecting Hell's Kitchen. The main villain of the season is Wilson Fisk, a ruthless crime lord attempting to reshape New York City under his control. Fisk works with several criminal factions, including the Russian mob led by Vladimir and Anatoly, Madame Gao, secretly connected to the mystical organization known as the Hand, Nobu, a deadly ninja assassin, and corrupt businessman Leland Owsley. Fisk eliminates his enemies with brutal efficiency, even killing some of his own allies when they become liabilities. You will never look at a car door the same way again. Meanwhile, journalist Ben Urich and Karen Page investigate Fisk's past and uncover the truth about his criminal empire. When Ben gets too close to exposing him, Fisk personally murders him. Eventually, Daredevil exposes Fisk's operation, leading to Fisk's arrest. By the end of the season, Matt fully embraces his identity as Daredevil, wearing the iconic red suit for the first time. Let's move on to Jessica Jones Season 1 recap. While Daredevil fights organized crime, Jessica Jones faces a far more psychological villain. Jessica is a private investigator with superhuman strength who is haunted by her past with Kilgrave, also known as the Purple Man. Kilgrave has the terrifying ability to control people simply by speaking commands. For months, Jessica lived under his control, forced to carry out terrible acts against her will. After escaping him, she struggles with guilt and trauma. When Kilgrave resurfaces, he becomes obsessed with reclaiming control over her. Throughout their season, Kilgrave manipulates countless innocent people, using them as weapons against Jessica. Jessica eventually teams up with allies like Luke Cage and her adoptive sister, Trish Walker, to stop him. In the final confrontation, Jessica breaks free from his influence and kills Kilgrave, ending his reign of terror. Let's move on to Daredevil Season 2. Season 2 introduces two major forces that will shape the future of the story. The first is Frank Castle, also known as the Punisher. Frank is a former Marine whose family was murdered in a gang shootout involving several criminal organizations. Believing the justice system failed him, Frank begins executing criminals across New York. His brutal methods put him in direct conflict with Daredevil, who believes criminals should face justice rather than death. And the second major storyline introduces the ancient ninja organization, the Hand. Matt's former lover, Elektra Nachios, returns and reveals she is involved in a secret war with the Hand. The Hand is searching for the Black Sky, a powerful weapon tied to Elektra herself. During a massive battle with the Hand, Elektra is killed protecting Matt. By the end of the season, Matt finally reveals his identity as Daredevil to Karen. Let's move on to the Defenders. The story of the Hand continues in The Defenders, bringing together four heroes: Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and Iron Fist. The Hand is now led by several powerful figures including Alexandra Reed, Madame Gao, Murakami, Sawande, and Bakura. Their goal is to obtain a mystical substance hidden beneath New York City that allows them to resurrect the dead. Elektra is brought back to life as the Black Sky, becoming the Hand's most powerful weapon. During the final battle beneath the city, Daredevil stays behind with Elektra as the building collapses. The world believes Matt Murdock died saving New York. Now let's move on to The Punisher Season 1. After the events of Daredevil Season 2, Frank Castle continues his war on crime. Frank uncovers a massive conspiracy involving secret military operations and corrupt government officials. The villain behind the conspiracy is Billy Russo, one of Frank's closest friends from his time in the Marines. Russo betrays Frank and becomes the villain known as Jigsaw after Frank brutally scars his face during their final confrontation. Frank ultimately dismantles the conspiracy and fully embraces his identity as the Punisher, continuing his violent war on criminals. Now let's go over to Daredevil Season 3. Matt Murdock survived the collapse from the end of Defenders, but is severely injured and questioning his faith. Meanwhile, Wilson Fisk begins manipulating events from prison. Fisk strikes a deal with the FBI, allowing him to regain influence and rebuild his criminal empire. Fisk also manipulates unstable FBI agent Benjamin Poindexter, turning him into a weapon. Poindexter eventually becomes the villain Bullseye, impersonating Daredevil and committing violent crimes to destroy Matt's reputation. Fisk nearly regains full control of New York's underworld. In the final battle, Daredevil defeats Fisk but refuses to kill him. Instead, Matt forces Fisk back into prison by threatening to expose Vanessa's role in his crimes. Matt reunites with Foggy and Karen, and the three rebuild their law firm. Now let's talk briefly about Daredevil's appearance in Spider-Man No Way Home. Matt Murdock officially appears in the MCU when he acts as Peter Parker's lawyer. After Spider-Man's identity is revealed, Matt helps Peter avoid legal trouble. In a brief but memorable moment, Matt casually catches a brick thrown through the window, confirming his enhanced reflexes. He's just a really good lawyer. Okay, let's follow Kingpin's story through Hawkeye and Echo. Wilson Fisk resurfaces during Hawkeye, revealed as the powerful crime boss secretly controlling New York's criminal underworld. Fisk has a complicated relationship with Maya Lopez, also known as Echo, whom he helped raise. When Maya learns the truth about her father's death, she turns against Fisk. In the Echo series, Fisk attempts to regain control but suffers a major defeat. Realizing that controlling crime from the shadows is no longer enough, Fisk begins pursuing a much bigger goal. By the end of Echo, Wilson Fisk sets his sights on becoming the mayor of New York. Okay, let's track Daredevil's appearance in She-Hulk Attorney at Law. Matt appears again in She-Hulk Attorney at Law, revealing a more light-hearted side of the character. He teams up with Jennifer Walters to stop a villain known as Leapfrog, who is misusing superhero suits. This appearance confirms that Matt is still active as Daredevil in the MCU. Alright, let's go through Daredevil Born Again Season 1. Following the events of the Netflix series, Matt Murdock is once again trying to balance his life as a lawyer, while Wilson Fisk begins making a bold move toward political power in New York. Fisk publicly rebrands himself as a legitimate businessman and eventually runs for mayor of New York City, positioning himself as the man who will restore law and order to a city plagued by vigilantes. But behind the scenes, Fisk is still manipulating events and consolidating power. Early in the season, Matt suffers a devastating loss with the death of Foggy Nelson, which deeply impacts him and forces him to reconsider whether the Daredevil mantle is doing more harm than good. Around this time, we are also introduced to White Tiger, also known as Hector Ayala. Hector gains his powers from a mystical White Tiger amulet, which enhances his strength, speed, and combat abilities. As a street-level vigilante operating in New York, White Tiger becomes entangled in a legal system and ends up being represented in court by Matt Murdock himself. Matt defends Hector when he is accused of murder, believing that Hector was acting heroically while trying to protect innocent people. The case highlights the blurred lines between vigilantism and justice, a central theme of the series. Tragically, despite Matt's efforts to defend him, Hector's story ends in violence when he is killed, further fueling tensions between vigilantes, criminals, and the city. Meanwhile, a disturbing new villain emerges in New York, Muse, a twisted serial killer who sees murder as a form of artistic expression. Muse leaves behind grotesque crime scenes across the city, turning victims into macabre displays of art. His crimes push Matt back toward fully embracing the Daredevil persona as he hunts the killer through the streets of Hell's Kitchen. During the chaos unfolding in the city, Frank Castle, the Punisher, resurfaces. Frank is drawn back into the conflict as the violence escalates, bringing his own brutal form of justice to the streets. His methods once again clash with Matt's moral code, reigniting the ideological conflict between justice and vengeance that defined their earlier encounters. As the season builds towards its climax, Fisk's political power continues to grow while vigilantes become increasingly targeted by the public and the authorities. By the end of the season, New York City is more divided than ever. Criminals are becoming more organized, vigilantes are under greater scrutiny, and Fisk's influence over the city is stronger than ever. All of this sets the stage for an even bigger conflict heading into Born Again Season 2, where the battle for the soul of New York is far from over. From the rise of Daredevil to the fall and return of Kingpin, to the tragedy that reshapes Matt Murdock's life, everything has been leading to the next chapter. With Wilson Fisk now pursuing power as mayor of New York, Daredevil may be facing the most dangerous version of Kingpin yet. And that's the story so far before Daredevil Born Again Season 2. If you enjoyed this recap, leave a thumbs up, smash the subscribe button, and leave a comment down below what you're looking forward to the most from Daredevil Born Again Season 2. See you soon.